It's Way Up with Angela Yee. I'm here with my girl, Stacey Tisdale, for Wealth Wednesday.
Happy Wealth Wednesdays, everybody. Woo! We are so excited today to have the one, the only Ashley Fox on the show to fill your heads with financial wisdom. We are so proud of what Ashley has done with her own life and her own career. She's a former Wall Street analyst, and we were just talking about Wall Street.
I was just picking her brain already.
Totally talking about Wall Street. And she founded Empify, which is an incredible financial education platform in 2014.
Empower and modify.
Yes.
Empify.
Yes.
And she's an HBCU grad, and super proud of you for this. Inc. magazine has ranked you one of the top 500 female founders. So we are not messing around at all. And right off the bat, what the heck? In terms of where are we right now? What are like the top two pieces of financial advice you're giving to people in this crazy environment?
So I would say the first thing is breathe, because this is actually the best time to learn. This is the best time to learn. This is the best time to grow. And I always tell people, when we go shopping on Black Friday and everything's on sale, we have no problem with all prices dropping when we go shopping. But what about in the stock market? Some of the biggest and best companies' prices are dropping, which means we're getting it on sale. And think about it, though. People get so scared of the stock market when it's up, and then we're scared of it when it's down. So when do we actually start to invest? And so, one, I would say breathe. This is your time to read, to learn. We're not using emotion. We are operating off of logic, because our family's legacy is way bigger than any presidential election, any country that we live in. It's just so much more important. The other thing I would say is get in the game. This is the time to really build wealth. Like, I think about, so when I was at Howard in 2008, because I graduated in 2010, I watched the stock market crash from my dorm room TV. And I didn't really know too much about what was going on, because I'm trying to get on Wall Street. But when I was on Wall Street, I worked with individuals that had at least $25 million. And I watched how they made money as a result of the 2008 crash. And I said, I am not missing out on this opportunity. So when the pandemic happened and the stock market crashed, I went crazy. Like, I went shopping in the market, and I was buying some of the biggest and best companies, and I made a ton of money, because while the market was scared, eventually we survived the pandemic.
Right.
So just as much as we've survived every stock market crash, why won't we survive this stock market crash or whatever's going on? I don't know how we want to classify it, but
it's just volatile.
yeah, when I think about just people, like, we are 100% undefeated at life. This can't stop us. This won't stop us. Let's use this as an opportunity to win, to grow, to learn, and to build wealth.
Stay with that for just a minute, because we were talking about how Ariel Investments found that blacks, even though they're the largest group of first-time investors to the stock market, they're the first people to panic sell
Yes.
in a falling market. And think about it. A lot of them are first-time investors. We have more responsibilities taking care of friends and family financially than other groups have. And it's new to us. A lot of us didn't have that education growing up in our homes. But you haven't lost a penny until you sell.
Yes. You only guarantee a loss when you sell. And I always tell people, let's say you were to buy a house for $100,000, right? And then something happens in the market and the value of your home drops to $50,000. So you bought the house for $100,000, it dropped to $50,000. What are you doing with the house?
Staying there.
Why? You lost 50% of your money. It just why do you want to keep it? You lost money already.
Right. Well, if you sell it, then you really lost money.
Right. And it could possibly go back up. So the same thing works with some of the most biggest and best companies in America, right? So I think you guarantee a loss when you sell. But again, the way I see it is, if it's a company you like, a company you've researched, a company you believe will be around in the next 5 to 10, 15 years, why not just get it at a lower price point? And this is not for getting rich quick, by the way. I want to make
But
that
that
disclaimer.
emotion that a lot of people of color carry.
Yeah, but and rightfully so, though. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of doubt. We have every right to feel like
We
that.
think, a lot of us think things are a scam.
Yeah, and we have every right. But it's being able to understand the language of money. Because if you understand the language and you understand the stock market, when you buy a stock, you're not buying a stock. You're not buying a price. You're owning a piece of a business. You are actually part owner of a business. And interestingly enough, our black dollar is the reason these businesses exist. We have $1 trillion businesses in America because we love to shop. And I like nice things. I love to shop, but I like that.
But
I also own some of the companies that I give my money to, right?
You know,
and you have to think about it like that.
In your story, I also saw there was a period of time when you really went on a shopping spree.
Oh yeah, I lost everything, girl. Yeah.
Tell us about
Because
that. What
I
inspired
want to
you?
hear about that, because you're just like, what I love about you is that we follow you on social media. You're always giving advice, but you're also just like us. And it's easier for me to look at somebody who's been through some things that I've been through and came through on the other side successfully, and now you've learned some things. So talk to us about that period of time. You were doing well financially.
It was, yes. So I was on Wall Street, and every day when I'm on Wall Street, I'm in the bank accounts of millionaires and billionaires. So I'm seeing where they shop, where they live, travel, what they invested in, and I felt like I was on the wrong end of the table. And when I would go back home to Philly, where I'm from, I'm making six figures, but like I don't have at least 25 million. And I just felt like for something we're using every day of our life, why is it not taught in our school system? Why did I have to go to Howard, work on Wall Street to really understand how to buy a stock, And so I always wanted to be a teacher, though. I actually, nobody knows
Me
that.
too.
But I felt like I had to chase the money. I was chasing the money. I was chasing the reputation, everything. And so I decided to leave because I wanted to build something that targeted the 99% that Wall Street often overlooks. Now, this was back in 2013. So entrepreneurship was not sexy. Instagram just started to kind of people started to post pictures and things like that. But I felt like something inside of me was like, you are that girl. You are able to translate this Wall Street knowledge, bring it to these everyday people, but you understand Wall Street and you understand how they feel. Because I didn't grow up with rich parents. Like we grew up middle class. My family bought stocks because I opened their investment accounts. I funded their accounts. So when I left Wall Street, I had $30,000 when I quit. So I'm rich and I'm never wearing stockings again. And I'm just like, I'm going to figure this thing out, right? But I had this idea and I made up this word, right, called Empify, because I really wanted to shift our mindset. Because building wealth is not just about, hey, let me teach you what a stock is, because you have the information on the internet. When you lack empowerment and you speak into people and not at people, you can start to change the way they think. And so when we think about Empify, it's the word empower. We're going to empower you to say, hey, if you want to start with $5, we're going to build wealth with $5. We're going to $5 our way till we get to $1 million. But when you start to empower people and you give them education, it changes them, which is where Modify comes from. So I had this big vision. I'm going to change the world. I don't know how. I just know why. And it's going to be Ashley Fox. And in the midst of that, you don't make money every 2 weeks. And so I'm still traveling. I think I had just went to Thailand. I was traveling. But I'm still thinking, I'm living the life of a woman who worked on Wall Street. But when the money stops coming and you're still spending, the math wasn't mathing. So I ended up getting kicked out my Harlem apartment. And I had to move back to Philly in my parents' house. And I think I needed that because I was so stuck on, I'm Ashley. I worked on Wall Street. Like it was such an identifier to me, and
you think somewhere the money's just going to start flowing.
Yeah, I don't know if my head was big, but it was like I was that girl, right?
You had an image also you're maintaining.
But it's like I'm now teaching a subject of something I don't have because I'm not paying my rent. I'm traveling the world, struggling, trying to build this business of which I have no idea what that means. I made an LLC in 2014. We didn't make money in Empify until 2017. So I'm thinking I'm doing it right, but it's just, I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. And so when I lost everything.
Pause right there. Is that normal? I
Well,
always try to tell for
me.
entrepreneurs, you're going to feel like you don't know what you're doing.
I still don't feel like I know what I'm doing.
Sometimes you really don't. You learn as you go ahead. And sometimes you can educate yourself on something and still
feel like
not
you
know
don't
what
know
you're doing.
what
because
every day
a
I
lot
wake
of
up,
books can't teach you what it is that you need to do to run a business successfully.
They missed that class at Howard because
things are
every
always
day
changing.
I wake up and I don't. 95% of my life right now is something I've never seen before. But my vision and my belief in Ashley and what Empify can do for the world. I mean, granted, we've been doing this for a while, so I know we're really good at what we do. But that's what you have to hold on to. And it was a point when I lost everything. It's like I could not unsee Wall Street wealth. I couldn't unsee the $1 billion bank accounts. I couldn't unsee the yachts in the south of France. I couldn't unsee those things. And I know. And I started to do the Wall Street stuff. So while I didn't get the big yacht in France, I did go to the south of France. I got a little yacht. Like I'm traveling like our clients because I truly believe success leaves clues. Just follow the blueprint. If they're buying stocks while they started with $100 million, I started with $100. They're going to the south of France. Let me save up my money. And I'm watching all the rich people go to south of France. And I wanted to become that. And I felt like there's no difference between me and you. I just am not in the right space. And I feel like you truly build wealth when you invest in somebody else's idea or your own idea. And I chose to do both. I knew if I stayed on Wall Street, making the money I was making, which was good money, if I was there for 10 years, I still was not qualified to be that client. And I knew I deserved to be that client. I just needed to figure out the how part. And I think Empify and the desire to change the world then led me to figuring out the finances and making the money. But I'd also never started Empify to make money. If that was the case, I would have stayed on Wall Street. Right. I wanted to essentially target the people Wall Street did not want to target or care to target, and I felt like we all deserve this information.
Which is the majority of people.
Yeah, so it was just so much bigger than me. And when I lost everything, I still held on to like, I know what's possible.
Was that difficult though? Because I know going from Wall Street to media and then in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs, there's going to be financial ups and downs. That's just the nature of entrepreneurship. Teaching financial wellness, teaching about money, when as an entrepreneur you're experiencing the ups and downs. Did you ever struggle with those contradictions sometimes?
I did. I remember when I was getting kicked out, people thought I was a millionaire. And I would read articles people would write, and I'm just like, I'm living at my parents' house for 2 years, sleeping on their couch. But here's the thing, though, and I say this to everybody. Regardless of the balance in your bank account, it is not a direct correlation to who you believe you'll become. Right. So I would walk and talk like I ran $1 billion business. Like right now on social media, I call myself the $1 billion CEO because the Ashley that got to her first million is not the Ashley that's going to create $1 billion business. So I have to train, am I dressed like $1 billion CEO? Am I running my team like $1 billion CEO? And so a lot of therapy helped too.
Yeah,
I started going to therapy. But the biggest thing, and again, it's not even about money. It's about your mental, your mindset. Like you have to be so resilient, so focused, and not let the doubts, the fears, the worry, because they exist, but it cannot be the loudest voice in your head. So I believed Ashley was going to change the world a lot more than I believed Ashley couldn't figure it out. And I think too, those little wins you get as an entrepreneur, like the Inc. Top female founders, like it came at the moment where I feel like, what am I doing in my business? And it's just like, oh my gosh, thank you guys. And it just gives you
it lets you know
boost.
You're on that right track.
And so I still feel it to this day. So
I want to ask you something about what Mark Cuban said, because this went viral. I know you had to see this, Stacey, where he said at South by Southwest, he was on a panel with Tabitha Brown, and he talked about Black women founders, right? And he said, I would tell you not to look for funding. You have to figure out a way to use sweat equity to build it on your own, even if it means starting smaller and slower, because there is a learning process and it's twofold. One is learning about your business and making it loan worthy. Then two is learning the language of those making loans. So, we already as Black women have a huge funding gap. Black women business owners who apply for funding face a 3-time higher rejection rate than that of white business owners, and only 2% of venture capital funding in the U.S. goes to female-only founding teams. What do you think about what Mark Cuban? Because I saw people arguing in the comments about it.
So, Mr. Funded Arlen Hamilton.
So,
I saw she weighed in on it too. Okay.
So, interestingly enough, when I started Empify, the venture capital thing, it existed because I saw our clients doing it, but it wasn't like a thing, right? I did not know about venture capital. I couldn't get a loan when I was trying to not get evicted from my apartment. So I figured I wasn't qualified for debt. I already had student loans. And for me, Empify was just so much bigger and I was going to figure it out. So I bootstrap Empify to this day because I didn't know money was accessible, regardless of what the stats say. To me, You can tell me what a stat says. When it comes to me coming to Empify, when it comes to me building wealth doesn't have a color. Therefore, it looks just like me. I don't care if you identify me as a Black woman. I am Ashley Marie Fox, this beautiful being in this world. I'm going to figure this out. So knowing that, I don't let stats like that or comments like that deter me from, you're going to want to buy my company. I'm going to build a scalable business. But I think the advantage that I had is when I left Wall Street, while I was there too, I would see how our clients invested in startups. I would sit in Harvard Angel Investor meetings, seeing these cool companies, but the questions they're asking them, I'm just like, oh, I never thought of it like that. And so I always I remember there's like this woman one time, she did nails. She didn't have to do shoe shine around companies. There was a woman who did nails. I'm like, this is so cool. So she goes in Fortune 500 companies and she's doing nails. And I was so fascinated. In the room, everyone said, you're not in the business of doing nails. You're in the business of hiring and firing people. And I said, oh, wow, you are. So now as an investor, I'm not investing in your product or service. I'm investing in your ability to hire and fire people. And it just made me think about what is a scalable business that can be sold and someone could win as a result of your business. And so I've always had that advantage. I've also been coached by people of all nationalities too, from the people that are from the coaches really I have, the therapists that I have, the spiritual advisor. Because Wall Street was not a all Black thing, right? It was, and I don't see color that way. For me, it's like if I need an answer, whoever is the smartest person in the room, I'm getting the answer from you despite what you look like, because I am worth that investment. And so when I hear things like that, I see life as a different point, because I struggled my way to build Empify because I did not know. I now sometimes talk to founders who don't even know how to make money, just want to get money for their idea, which is fine. But
There's a lot of that out there.
I learned a lot more about my business not having that advantage of someone just giving me money. Now I can go, and people pitch me all the time to try to buy my company to get access to capital. But here's the thing people don't talk about. When someone gives you money, now they are part owner of your business.
Right.
And for
somebody to answer to. Also,
and
I never, investors.
And I'm not against that, because again, if I'm your investor, you better give me a return. So I'm gonna be all in your business, rightfully so. But when I created Empify, like the green in Empify represents the heart chakra. Like, this wasn't about how do I make the most money. It was about how do I help people build the most wealth. So me changing the world mattered more than my bottom line. It just so happened that my desire to change the world ended up becoming a profitable business. So now I can change the world, I can build wealth, but I can also create something that helps everybody else build wealth despite who they are. So I'm not saying that raising capital or taking out a loan, I can say that the grit that you get from building a business from a bootstrap standpoint is different than somebody who was able to get money. And it doesn't make either founder better. I just feel different. But here's the downside to that. A lot of the problems that I went through could have been solved if I had money.
Right.
It could have been an easier journey, but I don't change my story.
Preach.
And now that I'm smarter, I like that I went that route, because I wouldn't dare have somebody come into Empify to tell me you better go start teaching cryptocurrency because that's the thing and it's going to make you more money, when it's like, no, that's not what I do. That's not that's not what I want to give the world. But you care more about bottom line. I care more about closing the wealth gap. And if we're not aligned with that, then I can't put you on my cap table.
What you just made me think of a whole new term, community bootstrapping.
Okay.
Are you noticing, like, we started a real estate club, and the community actually is kind of their own economy. They do deals with each other. I mean, we work with, our group works with lenders and stuff when people need it. But I'm noticing all these trends where there's like, I met a group of women from New Orleans who started an investment entrepreneurship group. They started almost like a lending circle with each other. Are you noticing that more in our community post-administration?
Yes, but I think the world is just changing. I think we now know, like if I think about where the era my parents were raised in, you're taught to go to school, get a job, you get the job so you can pay back
and you
school.
Hope somebody gives
and you wait for a
you.
pension, right? And that worked for that generation. Times are different. I mean, you can make money on YouTube. Like, I can make money on Instagram. There's so many ways to create wealth. I'm just all for you not solely relying on just having a job. Because I also don't think entrepreneurship is for everybody. If you would have told me I was going to go through what I went through when I left Wall Street, I probably would have second guessed it.
Yeah.
But I got to a point where I was in too deep and I knew too much. I couldn't get out. But it's not for everybody. But I do believe we are becoming more resourceful. We are not settling. We are trying to figure it out. We are falling. We are getting back up, because we know we cannot just depend on a system. We can't depend on our jobs, but the opportunities are just different now. So I think the pandemic the pandemic really did it a lot.
Yes, it did.
Which
because
is really
it
cool.
also made us not have to fly out for meetings and be able to do so many things, just over the internet. That before, like even me doing my show from home, we were never able to do that. But now I could travel, bring a kid with me, do my show from wherever, because that wasn't something that iHeart was really trying to do. But even, I
was
remember
in Dominica.
Yeah,
we did Wealth Wednesdays. I was locked in Dominica for 6 months.
But that was not something we would have done,
right?
So
prior
you're
forced
to that.
To figure it out. So I think when the fire is put under us, we will thrive.
That was actually one of our best years. We had an event.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember, we had an event planned here in March, and then everything got locked down, and I got locked in Dominica, and I just like, let's pivot to a virtual model. And all of a sudden, we could do so much more, and we did.
Yeah, we made the most money out at Empify when the market crashed. Like, and because of what we do, we help people create
it was
money.
A sale
it was like, we are not going through this crash without me telling the internet, you better stop being scared and start really understanding what is happening in America. And that's why they printed $2 trillion of stimulus checks, because they needed you to spend to give to the companies that are in the stock market. So what are we doing and how are we going to win?
What do you say to people who are like, okay, I have money in my savings, but I'm scared to make a move? And maybe it's not enough money to say right now, buy a house, so they think, right? But they just have money, it's sitting in their savings account, and they're like, I just want to hold on to my cash.
I'll first ask, how's that gotten you so far?
Right?
Like, I don't know anybody that has saved their way to wealth or has worked their way to wealth.
I'm gonna save this $10 instead of investing it.
But I also think it's coming from a lack mindset, justifiable. But also, let's talk about where that fear is coming from and who you want to be. What if we win in spite of our fears? What if we grow in spite of our fears? Because you can't live in fear your entire life. You are worthy of building wealth. But just ask yourself, we know so many people that have good jobs, make good money, own a home, but still aren't wealthy. So it's like, well, what else are we doing? There has to be something more. How about we bet on you? How about you become the investment? You make the investment in yourself to not do what has been ingrained in your mind. Because if we really want to get technical, the banking system wants you to put your money in a savings account because they take that money and they loan it to people.
Right.
If you took all of your money out of a savings account, there is no America. They need you. They need you to take out debt, and they need you to take out loans. That is how America runs. So, of course, but if I sit and tell you what I saw on Wall Street, if our clients had money sitting in a savings account, it was our job to work with the investors, the entire team, to figure out how to put that money to work. Why is it that we are always working for money? And money is not working for us. Just like you have a job description, your money needs a job description. Sitting down, chilling in a savings account is not going to get you the life that you want. You're not sitting down, chilling when you're working for the money. So give the money a job. Put it to work so it can start giving you some return on your investment. Because as the economy shifts, so does your savings account interest rates. There was a point where savings account interest rates were cool, but now as the rates are going down, your interest rates are going down. And it's like there are companies to this day that pay out dividends, that you can get passive income just from owning a stock that you can essentially live off of over time. But it's like we have to start thinking outside of what we were taught growing up, because if you did not grow up around wealth, how would you expect to know? No one's speaking that language to you. And so you have to understand, if it is possible for a billionaire to build the wealth that they build, because yes, they might build a business, but they got to protect their money too. It's in the stock market. The same game that Empify is teaching is the same game the 1% plays. So if in fact everyone in the world lost all their money in the stock market, why do the richest people still do it? What makes them any different than you? You might not have $100 million, but that same $100 is a company you're willing to give $100 to, but you don't want to own the company you're giving your money to. And so it's really understanding our thought process behind it, and that's what we have to break down.
Right here, talk about how now you can invest in the stock market with just $100 or just $50. I see your company's classified as a fintech. Fintech really changed the game and made it accessible.
So I think, yes, so to everyone, you can buy a stock for $5, okay? You can $5 your way to owning a piece of a share. And so when I say shares, owning a piece of a company. And they're broke. Now, I can say in the era of me leaving Wall Street, that's when the game changed. Because when I opened a brokerage account, I paid every transaction. Sometimes some of the companies had minimums.
Had to have $5,000
Yeah,
minimum.
like
Yep,
it's just different, which I need people to understand too. Things like stock splits, things like fractional shares, they exist because retail investors, the everyday person, are investing more. So one is getting a brokerage account. You can open a brokerage account with a Fidelity, a Charles Schwab. It doesn't matter, because every company is going to connect the buyer of the buyer of a stock to the seller of a stock. Opening a brokerage account and starting with what you can start with. I think the internet may tell you have to have this percent. No, if you are scared, that's fine. Well, what are you comfortable with starting with?
Right.
Because if you're not afraid to spend the money, why are you afraid to invest the money? And again, but the other reason too that a lot of people don't talk about is that the media that is also ran by the stock market is designed to cause you to be scared. We're not going to put on the news, oh, the stock market is up right now, everybody's making money. We're going to put fear in your heart because that's going to cause you to click. And I think we have that. We can think about all the times the market crashed. We can name all the crashes, but nobody talks about when the market was up. Boom. Nobody talks about how long the market was up before the pandemic actually happened, right? It was inevitable. And if you look at just the history of the stock market, it goes up, it goes down, but it's up more than it is down. But I would say too,
the average is 10% return.
Just think humans, right? Like you're not always up every day. You have down days too, right? And that's okay. And people run businesses and people invest in the stock market. We all have emotion. It's just understanding that when you're buying a business, it is not going to flip your money tomorrow. It took Amazon years to be $1 trillion business. Now it's a couple $1 trillion, right? It took Apple years to be the Apple that it is today. Just like it took you years to become who you are, but it doesn't mean you can't grow with the companies that you invest in, and you can't give yourself the time to allow them to grow. I think we're also in this mindset, we got to get rich quick. For so long, we haven't had money. Give it to me now. And that's when people feel like they're getting scammed. And not to say that there aren't people that scam, but it's like you got to stop thinking you're going to get rich. When we think about the wealthiest people in the world, they did not get rich because they just invested in a program or they bought one stock. And that's not how the game works.
Yeah, you're right about that, because some people think that, oh, I got to find this like unicorn stock that's going to make me so much money and I'm going to invest in this. And because you hear stories about that. And then people think that like, oh, if I would have just invested in Airbnb when it first started, or if I would have invested in, but you didn't, back then. And some things also is not open for everybody to get like that first round. You have to get, and so even getting into the company of people, because I also think that when you're surrounded by people who are of that mindset, where you're talking about finances, where you're talking about investing, that's actually going to help you.
Yep.
Yeah, as far as having, like you said, community has been so important, I think, when it comes to investing.
You have to keep in mind, a lot of people, Black investors, it's 2020, have been investing a lot in stocks. They've never seen a bear market. So a lot of people, oh, my friend bought this stock and, it made $1,000 in a week. They thought that's how the stock market worked.
Oh, yeah, the GameStop. And
it's going to be like,
but that's not normal, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Those are the things you actually run from.
It's like same with interest rates. People thought 3%, 4%, that's where interest rates were. They didn't realize we were in anomalies.
Right.
Anomaly on the stock market being a 10-year
You were so
market.
lucky if that happened.
And low
How do you
interest
know? I
rates.
want to ask this because I have investments but I've never taken money out.
Okay.
How do you know when to do that? Like, that's a question, because I feel like we always talk about, like you said, you don't lose until, but when it's up, like, how do you know if you don't really necessarily like, I try not to touch mine, but I'm like, okay, at some point, like, when do I access
60-40, 60-30-10?
Talk to me.
I think I got all that wrong because I'm not.
Right, I said, wait, what?
Oh,
money that you're going to need in 5 years and less, you should take out of stocks.
So, it depends on the person. I would say, okay, I'll tell you how I do it, right? Every time I buy a stock, I have a game plan. Why am I buying this stock? So, for example, I bought Zoom during the pandemic.
Okay.
I knew
Great
it was the right place at the right time. But I also knew this. Zoom was a smaller company, a younger company. When you know business and there's big companies that exist, they could eat you alive. But Zoom was at the right place at the right time. So if you notice, that's when Microsoft Teams started to come out. Like they were small, but they killed it.
Right.
I knew the moment we went back outside, it was not going to be as powerful, and the stock price dropped. So I knew going in, I only wanted to own Zoom for like a year. It wasn't a long-term investment. So I'll give you another example. I invest in Amazon. This is not a disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor.
Right. You're just doing personal. This is what you do.
But I feel like I'm married to Amazon. Till death do us part.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like I don't have a desire to. Amazon has its ups and downs. They're not perfect, but Amazon has made me a lot of money. And so I knew going in, when I'm buying that stock, for me, I'm 36 now, my age is 40. What is my portfolio going to do? What is it going to be able to produce for me to help me sustain the life that I want? I am building towards that, share by share, brick by brick, to get me there. Now, another thing I do, I go to Paris every single year. I'm either using points or I'm using stock gains. So sometimes I do sell my stocks, not all of them, the ones I want to keep. I sell them to do the things I want to do. Another example, when I got kicked out of my parents' my apartment in Harlem.
I thought you were going to say your parents kicked you out.
No, they didn't. No. They would have let me stay. Like, now? No. But when I got kicked out my apartment, my stocks are the reason I could build Empify.
Yeah.
So I had to sell my investments to start my business. I tell people, you can sell your stocks to pay down debt. It's about, what am I doing this for?
Okay.
Am I investing for the retirement, for the long term? Am I investing so that my child can get a car, so that they can go to college? For me, I know what my game plan is. In my dividend portfolio, I know how much income I want to produce from my dividends. I know with my growth stocks what I intend to do. Now, I don't always sell all my stocks, all my shares, but if I want to travel, I will sell. There was a point in business. Fast forward after I got kicked out, I was about to miss payroll, right? The money wasn't coming in. Money was owed here, there. I sold my stocks to make payroll.
Yeah.
So sometimes my stocks are also my emergency fund because you can easily sell a stock and get the cash for it. So it's really about it. Again, I'm not a trader.
Right.
So there are times where you can try to time the market, but I'm not
That's
a
not what
trader.
you do.
I like to buy and hold. But if I go in with a short term in mind, I know the game I want to play, and I have those expectations when I buy.
That's what's great. Like I have a Schwab account, but I have all my little micro investing apps. That's my emergency fund, and like Nvidia paid for me to go to Europe last year.
Yeah,
and that's what use those little accounts as an emergency fund.
But it varies. Again, people do time the market, so you can try to know when to sell. I don't pay attention to the market that much.
And it's not a sure shot, you know.
I'm not that kind of person. But know what you want to get out of it. If you've been investing and you got a stock, I had bought stock between, I had lived in Paris for like 3-4 months. Tesla, Apple, and Amazon were how I survived in Paris. I went through a phase in business where I was trying to figure out what was next for Empify. My stocks paid for my trip when I was in Paris. I sold like $30,000 of my stock, but I had bought it Wall Street days.
Yeah.
And so I needed the money, and it killed me because I was up thousands of percent.
I know.
I made a lot of money.
But
it's like you invested to make money. It's okay if you made it.
Right.
It's okay if you sell. You're selling the gains. You're not even selling what you put in. And I still invested every single month. So it really depends on the person. Again, you don't have to always time the market. But if you feel like I want to utilize my portfolio to make another investment, or I want to go travel, I want to pay off debt, or make a down payment on a home, that is fine. That is what the market is for, to help you make money outside of using your physical labor and time to be able to build wealth.
Tell people about Empify, what they would get in terms of membership and how they can find it.
So Empify.com. So we are like the Netflix of finance. We have an app called the Wealth Builders Community app, which is a membership-based platform where adults in now 23 countries have access to financial tools and resources. So all the things we did not learn in the school system, that's what Empify gives you inside of our platform. From learning how to invest in the stock market, plan for retirement, pass down your wealth, life insurance, parent investing, all the things I learned working on Wall Street. I created a company and a platform where you don't have to walk into that Wall Street building to get access to those tools. You now can come into the Wealth Builders community to get access to that. And so it's a way for you can have readily available access to education, but also that community environment, because our members are afraid. You come in, some people have never had a brokerage account, never bought a stock, but when you see someone on our timeline who started out just like you, getting their first dividend for $2 and they're so excited, we celebrate those small wins. And collectively, our members, as of today, have invested over $9 million. And these are people who started with $20. And so we're cultivating a space to say, I don't care what you look like, how much you do or do not have for the mistakes you made in the past. We're going to build this together. There will be a point, you heard it here first, where our members will invest $100 million. And these are people that can't make it to the 27th floor that I worked at working at JP Morgan. And so really putting people in that position. In addition to that, we've created programs in school systems. We taught the kids that came out of Rikers. We've been in school systems, prison systems. We've worked with large companies and corporations, municipalities, providing the financial tools and resources in a easy, digestible way, but also in a way that is culturally relevant, that meets people where they are, because money is a topic we don't like to talk about. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about it at Empify. We're going to talk about where you're scared. We're going to talk about how we're going to figure this out. But we are going to be the number one platform that creates investors. Whether you are a 6-year-old child or you are a 79-year-old, because that is the eldest member inside of our platform, it is never too late to build wealth. But the goal was to create something that Wall Street gave to its $25+ million client. As long as you have $5, you go to Empify, go to our Wealth Builders community app, you can become a member and really start to build.
And how we can also follow Empify on social, and your Instagram is at Empify, EMPIFY.
Empower.
At _ Ashley M. Fox. Yes. And come back soon, please.
Yes, I know. Amazing.
Please,
I love this.
Please. This is awesome. Thank you so much for your time, and happy Wealth Wednesdays, everybody.
Yay.